Welcome everybody to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about Nidhogg and Emu and how they're connected, how Emu doesn't know that Nidhogg's from Elbaf, and what this means for the story moving forward, because I think it has some pretty, big implications for the past and the future. So starting off, in one of the recent chapters, Emu basically confirmed that they didn't know that Nidhogg was from Elbaf. Emu knows that Nidhogg is a thing. I mean, they at least know that the dragon exists, but they don't know that it's connected to Elbaf. This is also supported by when Harold was defeated, because Emu didn't know who defeated Harold. They thought it was like some other person, what is in Elbaf by whom. I'm under the assumption that Emu thought it was Loki, like Loki has just been this strong, considering Emu still didn't know that Nidhogg was connected to Elbaf or anything when Loki was in captivity for, 6 years or whatever. Like Loki ate the fruit, was on the sea, and Emu still didn't know about it. And it's only now that Emu got their eyes on like Nidhogg's actual form that they're like, oh, this shit's actually from Elbaf, or it's in Elbaf. I think this has pretty big implications for the story moving forward, so I'm going to try to point those out now. So starting off, what do we actually know about Elbaf and like Nidhogg in the past of Elbaf? So Ja Rule gave us some lore about this god of war of Elbaf who had Ragnar, who was friends with Ratatoskr or whatever, and they had the Nidhogg fruit. We assume it's the Nidhogg fruit. It might have just been he was the actual dragon, but he used to fight the sun god in the past. Now, this wasn't clear if it was Joy Boy, if this was the original Nika, but I think it's pointing to this being the actual Nika, more than likely. I say that because we have this giant robot thing that we got shown in Elbaf earlier in this arc, who Vegapunk dated to be at least 3,000 years old. So we can assume that Elbaf is at least been around since the first world. So if we're saying that Elbaf is at least 3,000 years old, that means that it predates Emu by a long time. Now, I've been under the assumption that Emu's connected to the first world in some way, but I think there's actual evidence to support the opposite of this. Another thing I'm going to point out is this isn't confirmed or not, but we are under some assumption that Elbaf is the name of this god of war. It's not super clear yet, but in Little Garden, they were talking about the god of war, and there were some translations that were naming the person as Elbaf, which I think could make sense, because if this ancient Elbafian person, or if their name was Elbaf and they had this Nidhogg fruit and they were the god of war and all this shit, that seems to line up exactly with how Elbaf is, as a country. So maybe this god of war, founded Elbaf over 3,000 years ago and named the country after himself. And the entire country adopted this, war aspect on life. And I think if that was the case, then there's no way this dude was around in the second world, because Emu would have known if this guy was clashing with Joy Boy in the second world. There's no way Emu wouldn't have known, oh, the dude whose name is the same as the country of people, his fruit, it disappeared. Where did it go? I wonder where it went. So I think this all makes way more sense if this god of war is from ancient times, predating Emu by a long shot. He used to fight with the sun god of the past, maybe possibly the original Nika, maybe some person who predates Joy Boy who ate the Nika fruit, and that this person founded Elbaf, and Nidhogg has been dormant in Elbaf ever since. So this would mean that Emu in the second world didn't even encounter Nidhogg. Maybe they heard of the Nidhogg dragon like as a lore or something, as some folklore, as some thing just passed down, like the ancient weapons. We still know about the ancient weapons, but we don't know shit about them. So Emu saying, oh, the Nidhogg, maybe they just heard about this dragon from the first world from thousands of years ago, but they don't know the actual, lore behind it. So I think that basically the god of war is from the first world and Emu is from the second world. I've been under the assumption that Emu has been controlled by some first world being or some shit, because I'm like, dude, Oda is introducing this entirely new world. We had this, like, for the longest time, the second world was the only thing. Oh, the Void Century. We're going to learn about the Void Century. That's going to be it. Now he introduces this entire new first world, and there's obviously some type of conflict, right? This is an entire, it's been setting up from the first world all the way to the third world, and Luffy is going to solve everything. I've been under the assumption that Emu has been controlled by this first world being, and by defeating Emu, we're going to be solving the conflict of the first world and the second world at the same time. But I think Emu not knowing who Nidhogg is supports the idea that Emu is its own being who's from the second world, and that there's going to be some other type of conflict from the first world that we're going to have to solve. And I think that the obvious choice for that is going to be Blackbeard. I mean, Blackbeard, we still don't know shit about Blackbeard. We know he's from the Davy clan. We have no idea how he scarred Shanks. We still don't know how he knows all the information that he does. Where is he getting all this info from? We still don't know where Rox got his info from. I think there could be this long-standing line with Blackbeard from the first world dragged all the way through to the third world, and we are going to defeat Blackbeard in the end, which is going to wrap everything up. I think that Emu is going to be just the second world antagonist as a whole at this point. Considering Emu doesn't know that Nidhogg and Elbaf are connected, Emu is obviously not some, One Piece world god that has been around for literally since the dawn of time, which is what I've been assuming this whole time. It makes more sense that actually Blackbeard is going to be the final piece to this, because it's always been a debate. Oh, Emu's going to be the final villain. Blackbeard's going to be the final villain. I've always thought Blackbeard's going to be the final villain, but I just didn't understand the point. Like, you've set up this ancient being Emu this whole time. You've been setting them up. And then Blackbeard, who's just this new age pirate, is going to be the final villain. I mean, I think there's going to be way more significance to Blackbeard, and I think it's going to have to connect to the first world. And I think the fact that Emu doesn't know Nidhogg's from Elbaf supports all of this, because this is confirming that Emu doesn't know everything, which I think it's going to be this new antagonist, but it's going to be proxied through Blackbeard. I don't know. I think this makes sense. If this doesn't make any sense to you, please let me know down below. Shed some light in my eyes, because I think that this is the only path forward for this theory, or thinking about how Emu connects to the first world, second world, whatever. I don't know if you guys agree, disagree, let me know down below. I mean, this is kind of a outlandish theory, I guess, but I don't know. Oda's been setting this up. Like, there's no way Oda has been dropping these tidbits of Emu not knowing everything for there not to be, this expanded on, I guess. Like, the first world is going to be expanded on, and Emu doesn't seem to be connected to it. So there has to be something from the first world brought to today. And I think that has to be Blackbeard in an antagonistic sense. Like, there has to be some villain, some bad guy, whatever, that Luffy, because Luffy is going to fix everything. Luffy's going to solve the first world, the second world, the third world. Luffy's got to beat Blackbeard, and I think that's going to solve everything. So let me know what you guys think down below. That's all I got for today. See ya.